So where are we headed today? So our session today majorly focus on four steps, right? And that is the major steps that working with Power BI involves. You get. So first, you have to connect with your data set. You shape your data set. You build your data set, and of course, you build your visuals, and then you share whatever it is you've built with your audience, right? And of course, if time permits us, we will be looking into we would have a quick glance on DAX. DAX is data analytics expression. That's one of the language that Power BI understands, right? Just as the way some of us understands English, some of us will speak Yoruba, some of us speak Arabic. No, basically DAX is just the language of Power BI, right? Then, as a means of introduction, please can anyone still hear me? I just want to confirm. Okay, great. I can see a thumbs up. Okay, so what then is Power BI? It's important for us to know the tool we are going to work with, right? So when we mention Power BI, oftentimes people have a kind of misconception around what Power BI is. Usually, people think Power BI desktop is only Power BI, right? But Power BI is Power BI is a collection of software services, apps, and connectors that work together. So what they do basically is to turn our data into a meaningful and interactive insights, right? So basically, Power BI does more like what Excel would do, but at a kind of advanced level, right? So Power BI will connect to your data sets, any data you have, depending on the location. It could be on your system, it could be on the cloud, right? Depending on where the data set is. So Power BI has the ability to connect from any source. Then it has the functionality of cleaning, organizing the data. So the messy parts are fixed, Basically, data usually comes dirty. So just as I always tell people, right? Any form of data you have, just assume those data is dirty. Just assume the data is dirty, and you have to do a cleaning. And one beautiful thing about Power BI is that you don't have to repeat all the steps. You don't have to repeat all the steps. So once you fix that, anytime you just anytime you just need your data or you want to refresh your data, just refresh and your steps are intact. Then of course, Power BI builds visuals that people can interact with. They can click, they can filter, and of course, they can explore themselves. Yeah, the next slide. This slide is one of the basic, and it's important we touch it, right? So, but before we go deeper into Power BI itself, it's important for us to clarify something, right? And oftentimes I get to people get to ask me this question like, okay, why do I have to use Power BI when Excel can do my work, right? So, but the answer is Excel and Power BI are complementary tools. You get Excel and Power BI are complementary tools. One doesn't replace the other. Both of them has a role that they play. You get, and they solve different problems. They actually solve different problems. So Excel has Excel has been it has been the default business tools for many years, for decades. In short, some of us grew up using Excel, right? And it's still in existence, right? So basically, Excel is excellent. It's perfect for data entry. And that's one of the things. It's not like you can't enter data on Power BI, but why do you want to stress yourself when you can actually get a tool that can capture your data for you, and all you just need to do is to import the data, right? So Excel is good for data entry, for manual editing, for calculations, for a quick analysis. If you want to run a quick analysis, like you want to quickly plot some charts and all, Excel is good for that. You don't have to go through Power BI to do all of that. And on the other side, Excel struggles when the data set becomes very large. So for many people who will be working with large data sets, then Excel will be at a disadvantage to you. No, I remember one time I got interviewed for a particular role. In short, the role I am currently, and I remembered how the interview was conducted in a way whereby everyone so it was conducted on Teams platform, just like this. Everyone connected using a link. You on your you on your cam, you share your screen, right? And a lot of people were, this data set was a large data set, and a lot of people were trying to use Excel for this. At the point in time, most of them, their systems were freezing. It took time for them to even get their hands on the data, right? So this is one of the disadvantages of Excel. When it comes to big data, Excel is not going to do you well, right? Which is where Power BI comes in. So Power BI is basically designed for interactive dashboards. It's designed for data modeling. If you want to automate your reports, if you want to automate your system, Power BI is very good around that. When it comes to large data sets, I think Excel has a limit of about 1,050,000 rows or thereabout, right? Anything beyond 1,000,000 rows, just know that your Excel is not going to give you your desired results, right? So Power BI comes in, when you want to manage large data sets, share things, share reports across teams with just a link. If you want to share a dashboard in Excel, you definitely have to share all the .xlx file. But in case of Power BI, it's just with just a link, you are good to go, right? With just a link, you are good to go. So Power BI also has the feature of drag and drop. It has a feature of drilling down, to the barest minimum, right? So when we get to the practical period, practical session, you get to see what I'm saying. So yeah, Power BI has an ecosystem. Now, when I talk about ecosystem, it's just okay. Let me just use this as an example. Apple has an ecosystem. What are the Apple ecosystem? We have the iPhone, we have the Mac, we have the iWatch. Just mention them, right? So Power BI also has something like that. That's an ecosystem, right? It has more like a family member. Let me just put it that way. Power BI is more like a family member. The most popular one is the Power BI desktop, right? So it's a free Windows application for your local computer, right? So this is where you begin the development of your report or the development of your dashboard. So just consider for those of us who love cooking like me, just consider Power BI desktop as your kitchen. You get? So this is where all your ingredients are prepared. You bring in your recipes, you bring in your pot, you bring in your, anything you want to cook, you get. So it's important for you to know that when too many people work on this Power BI desktop, for example, you are developing a dashboard, a sales dashboard, and you now share that with your colleague, there is always an issue of version control, right? Well, we'll still get there, but this is more like an introduction, more like giving a background to get. Now, the next one is the Power BI service. So Power BI service is a cloud-based service. Basically, it's used for publishing, sharing your reports. You can also collaborate with your colleagues on the Power BI service. You get. So Power BI service is like the restaurant. Restaurant is where you serve people the food, right? Or where you are, or your dining hall. It's not like your restaurant or your dining hall. That's the point where you share what you have prepared with your consumers. You get. So your stakeholders come here to consume the data. They can filter, they can drill down, they can interact. And the beauty of this is that they cannot change any calculation. They can't change anything. So this alone, is some level of data protection or yeah, let me just put it as data protection, right? Nobody can just do anything with your data sets. But when you share the desktop file with them, they can move things around. And of course, we have the Power BI mobile, just as the name implies, Power BI mobile. So it's an app. So you can see it on the iOS, of course, on Google Play Store, you can also see it. So this is basically used for viewing and interactive. It is used for viewing and interacting with your report on the go, right? So the mobile is what you can take around. Is what you can take around. You get. Then now next up is the Power BI workflow. The Power BI workflow. So it's important for you to understand this workflow. And once you can understand this workflow, your first challenge with Power BI is resolved. Your first issue with Power BI is resolved, right? And so everything we do in Power BI, right, generally falls into 4 stages. It falls into 4 categories or 4 stages. The connect, excuse me, the shape, the building phase, and the sharing phase. The connection phase, the shaping phase, the building phase, and the sharing phase, right? Now, what happens at the connection phase? The connection phase is the first step of getting your data into Power BI. And another beauty of using Power BI, or another advantage of using Power BI, is that Power BI can connect to different and many sources. Power BI can connect to your Excel, it can connect to your .csv, it can connect to SQL database. You can even connect it to any API. You can. There was a time, okay, during the lockdown, I actually during lockdown, that's around 2020, I worked for an organization who like kind of supports the government of Nigeria around the COVID-19, and every day we would have a dashboard that shows the new cases of COVID-19, the number of deaths that have been recorded, the number of people recovered, and all, right? Power BI was one of the tools we used, and we just connected to the API, right? And it was showing, people, the stakeholders were viewing the data real time, like real time, you get. So that's one thing that happens at the connection phase, right? So the goal of this phase is simply to bring data into Power BI successfully. The goal is simply to bring Power BI to bring data into Power BI successfully. So I usually remind people that analysts spend time working with data sources than creating charts. If the connection process is poor, everything else becomes difficult later. You need to know that. When you don't connect your data properly, when it comes to the time you want to refresh your data set, you will definitely have issues. So the second stage is shaping, the shaping stage, right? So after connecting your data, the next step for you is to shape the data, right? And this is where Power Query comes in. Power Query is one of the tools that is embedded in Power BI. It's also in Excel, right? And basically, what Power Query does is that it help you clean your data set, the data you are bringing into Power BI. Power Query will do. So Power Query is the tool we'll use Power Query Editor is a tool we use to shape, the data set. So this stage is extremely important because clean data actually leads to reliable visualization or reliable reporting. If your data is not properly cleaned, you have issues of data. You have issues of skewness. You have issues of false reporting, right? You have issues of false reporting, and many poor dashboard issues actually come from poor data preparation and basically no visualization. In short, visualization is one of the least things, and most data analysts spend about 90% of their time. So if you are looking towards transitioning into data analysis, or you want to become a data analyst, you must prepare your mind that most of your time is going to be dedicated to cleaning your data set. Right. So we'll still look at the practical ways of how we clean our data set. Then the build phase is where you model your data, you define how your tables are related. You may be having more than one tables. In short, if you really want your dashboard or your reports to perform well, it's important you invest in data modeling, right? There's something we call star schema. So that star schema, we have stuff like dimension and facts table. We'll still get to all of that, right? So I'm just trying to prepare us. Now, at the build phase, another thing we do at the build phase, aside from data modeling, is to create our visuals, to communicate insights for decision making. So visuals may include bar charts, may include column charts, may include line charts, pie charts, donut charts, maps, tables, cards, and so on. So Power BI has loads of all of these charts that you can work with. Now, the last phase of the Power BI workflow is the sharing phase. That's the final step, right? It's the final step of sharing your report with others. Now, let me state clearly that never share your .pbix file with people, right? It doesn't really make sense. They won't be able to interact, right? So that's where the place of sharing comes in. And we share using what Power BI service. That's where we share, right? And so after building our reports, it needs to reach the decision maker. So Power BI allows us to publish reports to Power BI service. I mentioned that. So teams can access them online. So this stage includes publishing report. There's a function to publish your report in Power BI. You share in a secure way. You can manage permissions. Manage permission in the sense that, let's say I want to visualize a dashboard, a COVID-19 dashboard, for example, right? And I only want each state to see their own data. There's something we call role-based access, right? Or role-level security. Probably I call it role-level security. Some other data analytics tool call it role-based access, right? So I can create it in such a way that Lagos will not see what's happening in Ogun State, and Ogun State will not see what's happening in Oyo, or Ghana may not see what's happening in Nigeria, or Africa may not see what's happening in Europe. You get? So there's a level, there's a way we can do that in Power BI, right? So I'm just citing that as an example, right? So that takes me to the next slide. Which is showing the Power BI interface. But before I proceed further, I just want to confirm if we're still together. Can I get a thumbs up? Oh, great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I could see many thumbs up. All right, good. So this is what your Power BI interface looks like. Let me see if I can zoom a bit. Oops. Basically, this is what our Power BI interface looks like. The first one is our ribbon. Some call it ribbon, but it's ribbon. So this ribbon is at the top of the interface, just like you would have in your Microsoft Word, your Microsoft Excel, or even PowerPoint. This top area is the ribbon. Now, this ribbon contains different commands, different buttons that helps you find your way around Power BI. So you get, as you can see, there is a part where, if you can see it properly, this side is showing, can I get, okay. Now you can see get data here. I'm trying to see if I could get an annotator, laser pointer. Okay, I got it. Yeah, this side where my laser is pointing, there is the button showing get data. So this is what you use to get your data from any source. Now it's under home, right? All of this is under home. We have file, home, insert, modeling, view, optimize, help. These external tools may not show in yours. There's an installation I did that's showing that makes this external tools from. I'm not sure if it will show it, which if it would show on yours. I'm not sure, but then there's a command or there's a button or function under the ribbon. Then the next one is the visualization page. Now this part has any form of chart you want to use for your visualization, right? Any form of chart at all. I can see, as you can see, there's a column chart, there's a bar chart, there is a stack bar chart, line chart, and all of that, right? Now, the next one is the data pane. The data pane shows all your data sets, all the data sets you have, imported into Power BI. This is where it's going to show. This point is where it's going to show, right? So as at the time I took the screenshot, I've not imported any data sets, right? I've not imported any data. That's why you're not seeing this. So when we get to the practical part, you'll see, you appreciate this better. Now, the number 4 is the canvas. We call this the canvas. The canvas is that point where canvas is the point where you put your charts. You get. So it's a large center area where you arrange your charts, you make a dashboard, you design your reports, you build interactive pages. So just think of this number 4, this canvas, as your presentation board. Just think of it as your presentation board. Then we have the last part of it, which is the view mode selector. The view mode selector is always on the left. That's number 5, view mode selector. So it's on the left of the page. So this page allows you to switch between report view, the data view, and the model view. Now, the report view is what we are seeing currently. The data view is the point where it is a view where you see all the data sets or all the columns and rows in your in the data you loaded into your Power BI. And the model view basically is for managing data relationships. So quickly, because of our time, let's go to the first step. The first step out of the first step, that's the connect, getting your data into Power BI. So basically, your data can come from different points, and it could be in different formats. Data can be in Excel workbook, can be in CSV or text file. For those who are into what's this thing called? For those who are into who are like developers and likes, you'll get to use more of this CSV. So CSV is common, is a common export from from data systems, right? For those in the health sector, if you have heard of DHIS2, Kobo Toolbox, anything that has to do with exporting. If you're exporting from SQL, most times you export in CSV format. Now, CSV means comma separated values. Comma separated values. That's what we call it. That's what we call it. Comma separated values. Now, each of those numbers, each of your data set are in commas. So comma is one with each of the values in your data set are separated with comma. For example, let's say we have name, age, sex, let's just leave it like that. Name, age, sex. Now, if you want that name, age, sex to be as a table, you separate them with comma. You get? And of course, your data can come from SQL database. Most organizations have SQL database. Instead of exporting from an SQL database, you could just connect with an API, right? And of course, we can import from web. Can import from web. There was a time I was gathering some data sets from Wikipedia. I just connected to Wikipedia, just www.something. You see the data set but not all websites that would provide like a data set, right? So these are basically where the data comes from. How do you connect your data to Power BI? All you just need to do is to click on the get data function, and you'll see what's it called? You see the point where you select the data, where you select your data and you pull it in. So I could see a question. Someone asked if the presentation will be shared. Yes, we will share the presentation, and of course the video we'll share via email. You get all of this via email. Yeah, connecting to your data. Yes, I just mentioned it. Of course, you open your Power BI, you click get data on the ribbon, you choose the source, and you select your file. All right. So when you select your file, there will be a preview of the table. Then of course you click and load. So the shape part, the shape face, shaping your data basically means cleaning it. So most data would always come messy, right? They always come messy. So it's important you always have that at the back of your mind, right? And some of the cases you see is extra rows or duplicate rows, right? You might have extra rows, especially for those who work with Excel. You might see totals, right? You might see totals and some notes. You just clean all of them off. Text dates. Some of your dates may be saved in text format, right? And if you leave it like that, it's going to distort your data. Now we also have blank cells. We also have the case of blank cells. That's empty. But Power BI sees it as null, N-U-L-L. Please note that null is not zero. If you see null, it doesn't mean it's it doesn't mean it's zero. Do you get? So when you see null in Power BI, it means that place is blank. Then wrong headers. Some column names may be sitting in rows, right? Some column names may be sitting in rows. So these are some of the common things some of the common issues you will see. So always assume your data set is 30. Don't just go straight to visualizing data, right? Don't just go straight to visualizing data. It's going to put you in a lot of trouble, especially if you work in a sector where numbers mean a lot. When every numbers represent an individual life, you may not be forgiven for those kind of things, right? So yeah, Power Query is your data cleaning room, right? So Power Query is a transformation and preparation engine. It's basically used to clean, to shape your data before loading it into your report. So there's something we call ETL in data analytics. ETL. So it stands for extract, transform, and load. Extract, transform, and load. So Power Query is the main engine, is the tool that help you does that. Triggered. And the key function of Power Query is that it connects to many data sources in Excel. It helps you with data, many data sources rather, like Excel, SQL, database, web, cloud services, just mentioned. It also helps you to do lots of cleaning. I mentioned this earlier. It helps you shape your data. You can pivot your columns, unpivot them, split text into multiple columns. You can merge or append different tables together. Of course, you can do anything. Every step you take in Power Query is some kind of automation, right? So it means that once you have done it, it remains permanent. You don't have to do the cleaning all over and all over again. Do you get? So the big idea behind Power Query is that all of your issues is cleaned at once. All of your issues are resolved at once. Do you get? And Power Query records every step you take, and it repeats it automatically the next time that the data changes. When you refresh your data, it repeats that cleaning process. You don't have to go through, that cleaning process any longer, right? So this is what the Power Query interface looks like. It also has a ribbon. It has a query pane, the data preview, and the part that has applied steps. So this applied steps part is where all of the steps you take in cleaning the data set shows, right? So the third phase is the building phase, which is very much important, right? Now, before you build any chart, it's important you ask your question. You ask yourself some questions. What do I want to build in first place? What question do my visual want to answer? Do you get? What questions do my visuals want to answer? Don't just build charts for building sake. Do you get? So for those in health space, you might want to look at the number of health facilities that meet the immunization target. You might want to look at the number of people who started antiretroviral therapy. You might want to look at the number of malaria nets that were shared to pregnant women in a particular location. Do you get? So those are the kind of questions. So being a data analyst is not just visualizing data. And that's where a lot of people get it wrong, right? People think that you're a data analyst, then the next thing you should do is to start building dashboard. There are a lot of things, there are a lot of things attached to being a data analyst. You think outside the box, like you literally think outside the box. Sometimes you want to think and you might want to run mad. Sorry to use that, but you have to just think outside the box. You have to think for your stakeholders. You have to think for your final consumers, right? You answer their questions even before they ask you the questions. Do you get? For those in NGO, you might want to look, how did our monthly donation change this year? For those in logistics, you might want to look at the region that has most overdue, shipments. So these questions, when you are able to answer some of these questions, it tells you the chart that you needed. It tells you the kind of chart you need. And that takes me to the next slide, which is choosing the right visual. This is very much important. In short, I've seen a lot of dashboard that people build, and they commit a lot of please borrow me that language. I don't want to use atrocities, but there are a lot of things they do wrongly. All right. I've seen someone using a line chart for categorical data. Now, each of these charts have the kind of data you can use them to visualize triggers. So for example, now you want to compare things. You want to compare things side by side. Is that you go for a column chart or you go for a bar chart? For example, let's say I want to look at, I want to see the number of participants who attended our webinar based on their sector. There are a lot of people who work in finance sector. There are people who work in the health sector like me. There are people who work in finance sector, right? I could just plot the total number of people and show the bar according to their sector. Now, the sector is a category we are talking about. Do you get? The sector is a category we are talking about. So it's important that you know what works for what. You can't visualize number of webinar participants by category and you now decide to use line charts. No, that's a wrong use of charts. Now, line chart is useful when you want to visualize time series. Time series data, you use line chart. When you want to visualize time series data, you use line chart. So line chart shows changes over time. For example, let's say we want to look at the total number of people who recovered from COVID-19 between January 2020 and December 2020. Your best chart to use at that point is line chart, right? Or you want to look at the total sales you made, in year 2025. Line chart is what was best for you. Or you want to look at the total number of sales you made in the last 5 years. Line chart is your best bet. Now, another visual which people misuse is tables, right? Is pie chart and donut chart. Sorry, please. Pie chart and donut chart. Now, I've seen a lot of people visualize. Pie chart can be useful for categorical data too. Can be used for categorical data. Yeah. For example, you want to visualize. Let's say I want to know the number of people who attended our webinar by sex. Pie chart is my best bet, right? So it's going to show parts in whole. Pie chart or donut chart, right? And that's another chart that people really misuse. So if you want to use your pie chart, use it for categories use it for data that has about 3 categories, max 4 categories. I usually recommend 3 because it helps your final consumers. It helps their understanding. Do you get? It helps their understanding. Table is another visual that we use. Tables helps you list the details row by row, right? Tables and matrices, they fall in this category. Yes, there's something we call cards. So these cards help you display large numbers. They also display single and large numbers, right? I think this is quite straightforward. And you use cards for headline figures that people talk about. Your key indicators, let me just put it that way. Your key indicators, you use cards for them. And of course, when you build your visual, ensure you make it interactive. How can you make it interactive? It's through the use of slicers. Power BI has that function. So slicer acts as a filter that helps your audience, drill down your data. So let's assume that you want to visualize the number of webinar participants per their sector, right? If the sectors, just as we can see, right, is either I use my column chart, or if I want them to just, let's say I put my cards and it's only cards I have, right? I just want them to visualize. They won't be able to know the disaggregates of my webinar participants, right? All I just needed to do is include my slicer, then put in these categories. That's the sector. Put in the sector, and they can be able to drill down. Now, there are rules guiding building visuals. We call it design principles. There are about 2 rules. We have many rules, but for me, I recommend the 2 rules: the 5-second rule and the Z pattern layout, right? So we start with the 5-second rule. Now, the 5-second rule is just how do I put it? 5-second rules state. So just put it this way: your stakeholders or your final consumers should be able to get answer to their questions within 5 seconds. Within 5 seconds of them looking at the dashboard, right? So if a stakeholder cannot start answering your questions within 5 seconds of opening the dashboard, then it means your dashboard is too complex. It means your dashboard is too complex. So this does not mean that you remove the details. Doesn't mean that you remove the key points. It basically means what I'm just saying is that you should prioritize signals over noise. You should prioritize the key points instead of just cluttering your dashboard, right? So the first screen should communicate status. It should communicate the basic information that they need to to ask, right? So before selecting any visual, it's important for you to ask yourself, what decision is the dashboard I'm building going to support? What comparison matters most? And what changes should the viewer notice, right? So these are some of the key things we need to look at. So if just remember the 5-second rule. If your stakeholders cannot answer your question within 5 seconds, then your dashboard is too complex, right? So I'm trying to rush so that we can, get into the practical session properly. Now, the Z pattern. So basically, most people scan the screen in a loose Z pattern. Do you get? So the Z pattern layout is one of the key strategies that I have used in my role, and it has really helped me build like dashboard that people literally use, like they use real time. Do you get? So your top left should have your KPI cards. Your top right should have your slicers. The middle should have trends, comparisons. If you want to put your map, you can. Then the bottom details should, of course, contain your tables, anything you want to put, right? So, but a good layout reduce cognitive efforts. It doesn't. The reason we are talking about this pattern is it helps your stakeholders, your final consumers, understand your dashboard better. Now, this is what I'm trying to say about the Z pattern. I'm trying to zoom so you can see so this is a sales dashboard. This is a sales dashboard that one of the sales dashboard I work for some of my clients, but this is a wireframe. I just created a wireframe so we can you can see this. So this is a sales dashboard. Now remember I talked about cards. The total sales. So you can see the total sales, the total profit, the order. So these are key indicators that stakeholders would want to see. So you put them at the top, right? Then the next one, you have your other charts showing the disaggregation. Remember, I talked about line charts. This is sales over time. So the client wanted to see what their sales looks like over time. You can see the up and down movements. They might want to see it by category. Remember, I talked about column chart and bar chart. Now, the categories we're looking at now is the technology, the furniture, the office supplies, the appliances, the binders, and of course, the sales by region. And remember, the Z pattern also state that you put your tables towards the bottom. You shouldn't put your tables first. It's going to cause a lot of distraction and all of that, right? So let's go to the next slide deck. Yeah, common mistakes to avoid is very much important. Common mistakes to avoid is important to avoid some mistakes. Don't put too many visuals just because you want to communicate. You don't have to clutter your report page. Don't put too many visuals. Instead, move any content that you feel you want to share, just move it to a new page. Power BI has that function. You can create a new page for that. You don't have to overload your screen. Then keeping KPIs without context. Right? It doesn't make sense. It's going to confuse your users the more. And the traffic light abuse. A lot of people do not know how to use colors. A lot of people do not know how to use colors, and this is one of the challenges I you know I see that this is one of the challenges I see with a lot of people's dashboard. There are some colors that shouldn't get to your dashboard, like because they actually signal something. For example, you are building a dashboard and you pack a lot of red. What your stakeholder would think at first is that, oh, we are not doing well. We are not doing well. We are not doing well. But of course, but on the other side, you were just trying to beautify the dashboard, right? But you had passed the wrong information to them, right? So you have to be careful. You have to be mindful of the colors you use. So do not color everything red and green. So just use your color. Just use those colors for exceptions. Use red when there is a danger or something is not doing well. For example, let's say there is a particular product. Let's say there is a particular product that is not that the review is bad. These are the kind of things you show. Let's say in the month of May, our sales went up. These are the times you can use like green color and all of that. Unsorted bar chart is very bad. Don't just leave your bar chart or column chart unsorted, right? Then pie chart comparison, I've mentioned this. Never use a pie chart to compare more than 3 categories. Use bar charts instead. If your comparison is more than 3, just go to bar charts. And not leaving white space at all. Having a crowded report is really not a good thing. So these are quick things you should avoid. So always choose clarity over creativity. Remember, you are not the end user. And one of the reasons you are building dashboard is to provide insights. So when your insights now confuses people, then it becomes something else, right? Looking at the time, DAX. Okay, data analysis, analytic expression. Maybe we can let me just quickly clear this in next few minutes. So now DAX, I say DAX is the formula language of Power BI, right? DAX is the language that Power BI speaks. So DAX is the acronym for data analysis expression. So data analysis expression is the formula you create yourself. Is the formula you create yourself. Is a calculation you create yourself. Like the example I'm showing here, total sales. Let's say you have a column in a sales table. You have amount column in sales table, and you want to know the total sum. You want to know the total amount, the total sales you made in month of May. Just use sum. And of course, we have divide, just as you have it in Microsoft Excel, right? Just as you have it in Microsoft Excel, we have all these formulas and functions in Power BI too. There are loads of them. We have some that are for time series. We have some that are for filtering purposes, like calculate, like filter, right? But today's session is not focused on that. Those are a little bit advanced, but at the basic level, these are the common ones you use: sum, divide, right? Then there are 2 ways you can use DAX. You can use DAX to create a calculated column. That's creating a new column, deriving a new column from an existing one, right? There's a function we use for that. It's called switch. We can use switch to create a calculated column. There are a number of those formulas or functions that we can use. So you can either create a calculated column, right? Or you create a measure. You can either create a calculated column using that or create a measure using that, right? So now, calculated column is best for labels and categories. Let's say you want to derive a category from an existing data set. A quick example I would give is age group. If you want to create age group from age, or age band from age, you want to create, let's say we have a list of participants. Let me use our participants as an example. And I want to group them into different age groups or age bands. I can say 15 to 20, 21 to 25, 26 to 29, 30, and so on. So if I have not had that, what I will use is what is a calculated column, right? Then the next one is measure, creating measure. So measure is a calculation that runs the moment you click. So this is always advisable. And this takes me to the next point on the slide deck, which is the implicit and explicit measures. Implicit and explicit measures. So now the implicit measures happens when you create an implicit measure when you drag a a column into a visual. So Power BI creates a measure for you on its own. Is that count? It either counts it or sums it. So I'm going to show us this very shortly. So it actually works, but the challenge about that is that you can't replicate it in other charts. Do you get? The explicit measure is when you create your own measure, the one you create for yourself, right? So this one you create it, you create its name, it can work in any visuals, it behaves same every time. Do you get? So it's important that I always recommend using explicit measures, right? But for the basic level, you can try implicit, but explicit measure is highly recommended. So the last bit of it is the sharing part, the sharing phase. So this you publish, you send your report out. How do you do this? You publish in your Power BI desktop. When you publish, it goes to your Power BI service. Then you have a link to share to people. This just happens within within 3 clicks. There's no major thing we need to talk about. So basically, in summary, what we have looked through is that what we have looked through in the last few minutes is the Power BI workflow. So every report follows these 4 stages. It connects, shape, build, and of course share. So once you understand this workflow, then one of your major problem in Power BI in using Power BI is solved, right? So this one we expect you to so this we'll discuss this much later after the session. So we expect you to load. So we'll be sharing a data set alongside the presentation. You load the data set, you clean, then you try and build any dashboard around it. So we'd like to see what you do. So just take a screenshot of it. You can tag us on any of our handles, DUAC_consulting. We'll share this much later, DUAC_consulting. Then you can tag us on Twitter or on X, formerly Twitter, then LinkedIn, Instagram, and the likes. So basically what we have done so far is an introduction, and all of these were curated from a book I wrote last year. So although the book is focused around the public health and the M&E practitioners, but of course, it's still something you can apply to your work. You can look out for it using the link on the board, pbi4ds.netflix.app. And of course, we have different data analytics program in DUAC, right? So you can join our guided data analytics program. In short, we even have one coming up in the month of June. We have one coming up in the month of June. And yeah, for the sake of this webinar, we are giving a 50% discount. We are giving a 50% discount. And once you use this code DABC50, then you can get a 50% discount of the cost. So you can register at tr.ee/DABC, and we'll still share some of these. Maybe Dasola will share. We'll post this for us on the chat section. Of course, you can also connect with us. Our email is info@du-ac.com. You can reach out to us on WhatsApp or phone call using the number on the screen. You can also visit our website at www.du-ac.com. And of course, we'd like you to connect with us on our social media handles. We're on Twitter. What am I still calling it? Twitter? X. Instagram and LinkedIn, right? So I will be going to the practical session now. We'll be going through the practical session now. So just give me a moment. Just give me a moment. Just give me a moment. I'm just going to pull this up. While we are doing that, do we have any question? Do you have any question? If you have any question, please kindly drop it on the chat box. If you have any question, kindly drop it on the chat box. Okay, so I'm going to launch my Power BI now. I'm going to launch my Power BI now. Okay. Please confirm you can still see my screen. Are we together? Okay, I can see thumbs up. Do you have any question? Yes, I'm going to share the slide afterwards. We'll share it via the email and you register with. We'll definitely share it. Thank you, Eddie Jong Udofia. I'm not sure I pronounce well. Forgive me if I didn't pronounce well.
You did,
Okay.
sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Oh,
Very
great.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good to hear your voice since I started. Okay, right. So how do you launch your Power BI? Is very easy step. It's a very easy step. You can launch through. Okay, there's a question. When we clean data, do we clean the data manually by ourselves, label columns manually? Yes. Once you clean yourself, but all the cleaning you've done remains automated within Power Query. So you don't have to go through. So if you now want to bring in that same data, but with new updates, you don't have to go through that cleaning process again. Once you just refresh, everything remains same as you have cleaned it. Right. So but would see it better now. Yeah, so this is the welcome page. This is the welcome page of the Power BI, right? So once you launch your Power BI desktop, this is the first phase, the first page you see. So this is the landing page. Now, for you to connect your data, you have to open a blank report first. You have to first open a blank report. Then we're going to get our data set. So for me, I always advise that people arrange their folders to make it easy for them Yes, if you want to use Power BI service, you need an official work or school email address. That's for Power BI service. But for Power BI desktop, you don't need any email for Power BI desktop. Now you only need like an official email, maybe for your school or your work, to access Power BI service, right? But there was a time I tried something like that with my personal email. I think he gave me access, but it's going to give you like a trial version. It's going to give you like a trial version. So, but basically, by standard, you need an official work or school email access to use this properly. Yeah. So back to what I was saying earlier. So I always advise people to arrange their folders properly, right? So basically, this helps you. It makes your work easy, especially when you want to get your data set, right? Especially when you want to get your data set. So this is how I always advise. You open a folder for your project. So I had already done that. I created a folder for myself. That's my project folder. Then how can you do that? So I'm going to create another project folder in my project folder. So I'm going to name that as webinar, Power BI webinar. So I'm just going to click on this new. If you are using Windows 11, you see something like this. You see new. Once you click on new, you see the list of options to select. So we are creating a new folder. So just select folder, then you name it any name of your choice. But for me, I'm going to name it Power BI webinar. Power BI webinar. Right? Good. Yes, the file to be used was not shared. Apologies. We're thinking we would share much after this so that you can watch the video and just to save our time as well. But let me see if I can drop on the chat box if it's possible for you to download. Let me see if it's possible. But if not, we'll share via an email. We'll share via an email. Share through an email. Just after this session, please. Apologies for that. Apologies for that. We're supposed to attach it with the what's it called? With the installation guide. Okay, so let me just quickly move on, then we'll respond to every other questions later. So I just created the Power BI webinar folder, and inside the folder, I would like to create another one named data. So I'm just going to create it as data in small letter. I'll come back. So this is the data set we are using, healthcare data set. It's a bit messy, it's a bit dirty, so it's a bit dirty. The data set is a bit dirty. We can't finish cleaning it today because of our time, but at least I will guide you to some extent, and we'll create more like an interactive dashboard, then we'll close for the day. So now I already opened my Power BI. I'm going to get the data from the folder I saved my data set, right? So for me to get the data, there is a function, there is a get data function here. Under home ribbon, you see get data. So once you click on it, it's going to show you the list of data sets we want to work with. So this our data set is in CSV format. This our data set is in CSV format. So I'm just going to click on get data. So now there are two things you will see when you select on get data. There's a drop down under get data. Yeah, is there a need to understand the data before analyzing? Yes, you probably have, you should see what you even have in your data before analyzing. And this is what we are going to. This is what we are going to. To learn follow, I saw your question. Please, I'm just going to attend to it after the session. So is it compulsory to understand the field of study before trying to understand data along the line? Yes, please. You need industry knowledge. You need to have industry knowledge at the basic. And in case you don't have, then you might probably need an SME, a subject matter expert, to help you understand some of the key things. For example, now I work in the health sector, but I've done several data analysis and analytics gigs in finance and in logistics, right? I'm not a logistics expert. I'm not a finance expert. All I just needed was an SME that helps me understand most of these things. So you don't just jump on data. You need somebody to guide you through some of the key terms they use, right? Some of the key terms they use. So as I was saying, now there are two interfaces you will see when you click on get data. Now there's an arrow pointing down here. If you click on it, it's going to show you just few data sources, the common data sources that you'll see. But if you click on the get data itself, it's going to come up with a kind of pop-up. Going to come up with a pop-up showing the different data sources. Either ways, I'm just trying to state this just in case you didn't see this when you are working on yours. So our data set is in CSV format. Our data set is in CSV format. So I'm going to select text/CSV. I'm going to select text/CSV. So it's going to bring another page, another pop-up, which asks for my file path. It's going to ask for my file path. So I'm going to, if you click on browse, it's going to pop up, right? It's going to bring like a pop-up where you select where your data set is. Remember, my data set is inside a data folder, is inside data folder under the folder I created for Power BI webinar, right? So once I open it, I'm going to select it. Once you just select it, in short, once you open the folder, you will see the data set you are going to work with. You get. So once you select it, you click on open. Click on open. Then after you've selected your data set, you click on next. There's a next button here. So once you click on next button, it's going to give you like a preview of the data file, of the file rather. It's going to give you, or of the data rather. It's going to give you a preview of the data. Now, at this point, there are two things you do. You either transform at this point or you load your data set at this point. So there are two options. Now, what you are seeing currently is one of the new updates that Power BI released in May. Before now, the interface doesn't really look this nice before now, right? But over time, Power BI has evolved. Power BI has evolved. So in case you download your data, your Power BI some days ago, you probably might not have this interface. If you don't have this interface, it's still same process. It's still same process, right? Now, at this point, you either load your data set like this and you clean later, or you transform at the point. So if you click on this arrow facing down, you'll see the two options to load and the other option to transform, right? So for the purpose of this training, I'm going to load first. So let me load first. So it's going to load our data set. So we'll see what our data set looks like. Remember when I was telling us about when I was showing us the Power BI interface? Remember I told us that once we load our data set is going to show at this point. You can see the healthcare data set. So if you click on this arrow pointing to the right, it's going to show you the list of all of the columns, you have in your data set, right? Are we together? If we are together, can I get a thumbs up? Okay, great. Thank you. So now I've loaded my data, right? So I want to now transform my data. How would you do that if you want to transform your data? Let's assume you loaded your data first before transforming, right? Just come under the home tab. Just come under the home tab in the ribbon, then click on transform. Once you click on transform, the Power Query editor will pop up. So this is what I call the Power Query editor. This is what the Power Query editor is. Remember, I told you that it also has the Power Query editor also has a ribbon. What we have here is the query pane, right? Let me see, is there an annotator here? Yes, great. So what we have at this point, oh, sorry, I'm trying to, okay, great. This part here, this is our query pane. This part here is our ribbon. What we have here is our ribbon, and this place is the preview pane. What we have here is the preview pane, right? So I'm going to clear this. Right. So, and then we have the apply step. So everything we apply, I just want you to have a quick glance on this apply step part. So every step we take is going to be logged here. Every step, everything we do is going to be logged here, right? So let me start. So basically, this is the Power Query editor. Then now, what we are doing now is we will be, at this point, we'll be cleaning our data set. Now, can someone unmute and tell me what they notice about this data set? Do you have a volunteer? Can we get a volunteer? Or do I call names? Do I call names? Okay. I can see two hands, Eddie Jong and Victor. So let me start with Eddie Jong. Let me start with Eddie Jong.
Okay, so thank you so much, and good everybody. So from what I've seen here, the names are not a mixture of uppercase and smaller case letter for
Okay.
the name column. So I don't know if we should be consistent either using smaller case or uppercase to be for data consistency. And I think that's all from I don't know, I'm not been able to see the entire data set. So this is just what I've seen here. The gender to me is okay. The age are also integers, they're okay. Blood group, blood type is okay. Medical condition, I've seen them, they're okay here. Okay, thank you for that. Actually it's okay. Except we can check for missing values or missing fields to see if there are any other, and also, but here I think we are also going to have duplicates because of what I've said, the camp that we are looking for. For now, I think from what I've seen here, sorry for the background, they have a small baby around, so sorry for the noise.
No issues, no issues. I have them around too.
So that's basically what I've seen for my own here. I think I just saw some blank fields. I don't know if that can be taken out too. Thank you. Over.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think the next person, sorry, I'm trying to see how we raised our hands. Okay, Ainla Oluwatimileyin, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, I also see something about the billing.
Okay.
The billing. I don't know if
the billing amount, yeah.
So 17 like the format it is.
Yeah,
so
like the decimal places.
Yes.
I think this is having about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decimal places, right?
Yes.
It's having about 5 decimal places, yeah, which is not quite nice, right? Okay. Okay, good. That's very good. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So before now, and because of our time, I had done a bit of cleaning, but I didn't clean all, right? I didn't clean all. So these data set had quite a number of inconsistencies. Before now, the date was in text format, right? And another thing about Power BI is able to detect your data type. Do you get? It is able to detect the data type that your column format is, especially dates. When it comes to dates, especially dates and text, Power BI would automatically select that for you. Now, one of the inconsistencies we are seeing here is the names. The names are not consistent. For example, look at row 3, Danny Smith. Danny Smith is having capital letter in Danny. Do you get? Which is not quite okay. Some of these things will distort your data set. It will distort your visuals when you're trying to visualize and all of that. Another thing is that there are possible duplicates on the names. There are duplicates, there may be duplicates on the names. And then for you to remove duplicates, you have to be careful, which is why your domain knowledge is important, which is why you need an SME to always guide you. So don't just remove data sets. Don't just remove blank columns. Ask questions before you remove them. Don't just remove inconsistent data or data values, right? Don't just remove them. Ask questions, try and understand. But in case where there might be situations where you don't even have someone who would respond to you, right? So just at that point, you might have to use your discretion, or you use the data dictionary. So sometimes some data set comes with data dictionary. I'm trying to see if I could pull up the data dictionary for these data sets. I actually saved it. I don't know why I am missing it out. Somehow I can't just give me like few minutes. Give me like few minutes. Sorry, please. Okay, while I'm sorting that, I think Dasola has an information for us on the chat box. Okay, yeah, I think I got it. Now. I'm just going to pull it to my screen so you can see. Okay, so this is the data dictionary, right? This is the data dictionary. So the data dictionary basically speaks to each column and what they meant. For example, blood type is in text format. It has 8 values from A negative to O positive. Let me zoom a bit so we can see. Medical conditions. So we have 6 conditions. So this tells us that medical condition is a categorical data set, right? So we must treat it as a categorical data set. Then date of admission is expected to be date. So it is the date that the client started to to be on admission at the facility. The doctor's name, the hospital name in text, insurance provider in text, billing amount in decimal. So we must, so this is treatment cost in US dollars, the room number, O number, admission type, the discharge date, the medication, and all of that. So we can see the data sets and their types, right? So most data set comes with a data dictionary. Most data sets comes with a data dictionary. So I can see a question, who provides the data dictionary? Usually, the data dictionary is provided by the database administrator of the organization you are working with. If it's not available, so most data sets that are publicly available comes with data dictionary. And there are times that you would have to develop the data dictionary yourself. You get. So it's not cast on stones. So there are times you come up with the data dictionary yourself, right? So you have to be prepared. So just as I said, data analysis, you being a data analyst, you have to always be on your toes. You think outside the box. You do things that will make your work easy. So now we are going to start cleaning our data set. So for us to regularize this name, there are quite a number of things we need to do. There are some embedded functions here. So if you come under transform, you will see a lot of them. Right? So, but to make your work easier, just right click on the column you want to clean. Then you see the different options on what you want to do. So if you want to remove the columns, you can do this. If you want to remove other columns, you can select. Now, let me quickly tell you that there's no Control Z in Power Query editor. Do you get? There's no Control Z in Power Query editor. So any mistake you make, although you can still correct them, but you have to be careful. So for example, let me remove this column. Let me remove the name column. Let me remove it. Now we no longer have name column. Can anyone tell me what they notice on the screen? Aside from name column, leaving the screen. What other things can you notice? You have a volunteer.
Apply steps.
Thank you very much. The apply steps add another step. So it's showing us that we have removed columns. Now, another thing is for you to do a proper documentation, you can always right click this and rename it. So I can say removed name column. Do you get? You can rename it. Do we get that at all?
Yes,
Do we
sir.
get that at all?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Yes. So thank you. So basically, you can rename it. You can leave it like that. But if you have the time, you can rename. But best practice is that you rename them. But if you don't have the time, you can always, and you can always leave it like that. The major reason why you rename is for you to keep tabs, for you to keep tracks of each of the cleaning steps you have taken. Do you get? So even when there is an issue, you'll be able to know where exactly the issue is coming from. You get? So I'm just going to now, for me to bring back the column name, that I removed, all I just needed to do is, you can see this X here, this thing that looks like close option. So once I click on it, it brings back my name column. You get? So now back to our cleaning. So I'm going to standardize this name. How do I standardize this name? Once I just right click on the column, it's going to bring the list of the options that, bring the list of the options. You go to transform. And the first thing we need to do is what? We capitalize each word. You capitalize each word. Now you can see that our names is now uniform. We have a uniform name right now. We no longer have Terry with capital letter. We no longer have Danny with capital letter N in it. Now, if you look closely, there are some spaces in between these names, like Bobby Jackson. If you look closely, if you are someone who is conversant with data, you would know what white spaces are, right? So I'm going to trim this to help me remove. I'm going to trim this to help me remove any white space, like extra space that might be in the data set. So once I click on trim, it's going to normalize it. So always treat your text like this, just to be on the safe side. Always treat your text columns like this. Then another thing is that any of these names may contain some special characters. Because this data set is about 55,000 rows, and Power Query Editor can only show about 1,000 values, 1,000 rows of it, so you may not be able to see. But just to be on the safer side, you might want to remove any special character. How do you do this? Just click on clean. Once you select clean, it's going to remove any special character that you have in your text. So the H column is fine. We have no business with H column currently. So we're just going to leave that out. So Power BI had already helped us fix the date type already, right? So this is how you change the date. This is how you change your data type. For example, if your date of admission had come as a text, all you just needed to do is come to this. There is one small icon here. It can be, you may see it as ABC, you may see it as 1, 2, 3, you may see it as 1.2, you may, depending on the format that Power BI sees the data as. All you just needed to do is come here, you click on it, you'll be able to choose any format that you want your data set is. So let me just put this date. Let me just put this date of admission in text. You can see what my date of admission is showing us. But if I want to return it as date now, I can just click on the ABC, select it, and I select the date option. So it's going to ask me if I will replace the current. Yes, replace the current, or you add new. Is that you add new steps? So it's better you add new steps, right? Just add new step. Now, the doctor, we are going to do same thing we did to the name for doctor. It's possible we have some inconsistencies around it too. It's possible we have some inconsistencies around the doctor name. So just what we did earlier, right? You right click, you transform. Once you right click, select transform. Once you click on transform, you select capitalize each word. So it's going to standardize your names. Let's clean for special characters. Let's trim for special characters. Sorry, for white space. Then for special characters, we'll clean up for special characters. So I'm actually looking at the time. Apologies, please. So our billing amount is in. So we are going to undo this when we load our data set, right? So we're going to undo this when we load our data set. Now, at this point, from our age, we want to create an age group. We want to create an age group from our age. We want to create an age group from our age. All we just needed to do is we'll come to add column under the add column tab. Okay, I can see one and Victor Deyemi. Please go ahead and ask your question. I'll mute that. Please go ahead and ask. Okay, I guess that's a mistake. All right, so yes, we want to add a new column. We want to create a new column, and the new column is going to be age band or age group. Now, how do we do that? So basically, we want to create like 5 buckets of age group. Now, having this age will not be able to visualize our data set properly. It will just consume a lot of space on the page, right? So it's better we put them in categories. It's better. So whenever you have age like that, so it's recommended that you categorize them, right? Categorize age. So with this, I'm just going to click on the add column tab under my ribbon. Then I click on conditional column. You can also do this on the Power BI interface, right? But it's best you fix any issue from the root. Do you get? It's best you fix any issue from the root. So I'm going to click on conditional column. Now, it's going to ask me to put in my new column name. So this column name, I'm going to edit this custom and say age band, or let me say age group. You can say age band depending. Now, the column we are interested in is the age group. So this is going to take a lot of effort. So you have to be patient with me. So now we want to group this age. We want to group our age into 5 groups, into 5 buckets, right? So the age group we have in the age of the patients we have in this data set ranges from 0 to 89, right? 0 to 89. So we're going to group them into 0 to 17, 18 to 34, 35 to 49, 50 to 69. Then we do 70 and above, or 70 to 89. So we select the column, which is age. So basically, we want to say when age is equal to, or when age is less than or equal to this value, this is the output you give to us. Do you get? So let's say our webinar participants, their age ranges from age 18 to 28. Just give us as 18 to 28, right? So that's what we're going to do now. So you select the column name. This is the age. You want to create a new age, right? Then when age is less than or equal to 17, so group it as 0 to 17, right? 0-17, 0 to 17. So let's add another clause. We add another step. When age is less than or equal to 34, consider it as age 18 to 34. We add another clause. When age is less than or equal to 49, let's just group that as 35 to 49. We add another clause. When age is less than or equal to 69, we consider it as what? 50 to 69. So The last age group, 70 to 89, we're not going to do that, right? Because if we create that, how do I make you understand this? So the last group you want to create, you don't have to include them, right? You don't have to include them. So that's why the factor of this else, that's why we have the option of this else. So else, it means that any other group, any other age group outside this, it means that any other age group, this else, right? It means that any other age group outside the one that we have highlighted here, you just consider them as 70 to 89, right? So I'm just going to close this and click OK. So you can see that it has created a new age group for us. So the age group is going to be in a text format, right? So with this age group, we'll be able to visualize our categorical data set. We'll be able to visualize our categorical data in terms of age. We'll be able to see the number of admissions, the number of patients that falls within the age group, right? So for this, we are going to assume that we've cleaned this data set. I told us that I did some cleaning earlier. Earlier to help us manage our time. If not, we'll have to fix one or two. So I'm just going to close this. So there's a way. So you can either close this or you close and apply. If you close, it means that all the edits, all the fixes you do has not applied yet or won't apply. But until you close and apply, so there's a drop down here. So you close and apply. So once you close and apply, it's going to load your data sets. Depending on how fast your system is, depending on your system configuration, like mine, within seconds, it's loaded already, right? Yours might take some time to load, so no pause for that. You don't have to be scared. Remember that I talked about implicit and explicit measures earlier. Now I'm going to practicalize that for us. Yes, so to be on the safe side, remember to save your Power BI. Power BI doesn't auto save, right? So click save at each point where you make a milestone change, right? So I'm going to save this. So the first one is going to ask me to save as. So it's going to bring my location. It's going to show something like this, and you may decide to choose your own location, but this is my own personal location. I'll save it as health, or I can say Ryan Clinic Health or Ryan Clinic. Let me just put something like that, Ryan Clinic, and I'll save it. You can save it with any name you want. So this is a sign that it has saved. It will to show you the last time your report is saved. So as I was saying earlier, I talked about implicit and explicit measures, right? Now, I'm going to show you what I'm going to show you what it means to have an implicit and explicit measure. So this is an implicit measure when you bring, let's say you bring what value, what can I bring in? What can I bring? The data set doesn't contain patient ID. So let's go back. Let's go and create a patient ID for each of those patients, each of these individuals. So you come to add column, you come to custom column to do that. Add column, custom column. No, not custom column. It's index column. You create index column. So let me go back. Add columns. You create index column. You can customize your own index. You can customize your ID. So I'm going to click on custom. Starting index. Let me say P01. Oh, it won't take texts. It wants number. Okay. So let me do 001. The increment should be 1. That is, you add 1 to each of those numbers. So let me say okay. Okay, we won't start with 0, but anyways, we can just So let me rename this. Let me rename this as patient ID. Patient underscore ID. Or let me just say patient ID. Okay, good. So I'm going to close this. Now, if I bring in that column I just created, it's going to automatically, so if I click on it, so remember I said Power BI has drag and drop. You can drag the data here and it's going to automatically create a visual for you, right? That's one of the beauties of Power BI, right? That's this click, the drag and drop feature. Now, when I drag and drop my column ID, the patient ID, it created a card for me automatically, and it's showing it as count of patient ID. Showing it as what? Count of patient ID. Now, what happened there is an implicit what's it called? You just created an implicit measure. You just created an implicit measure. Now you can decide to count, you can decide to keep it as count or sum or average. Do you get? So it's going to work for you. It's basically just going to work. But I always recommend that people create explicit measures. And how do you create that? You have to create your measure table. You have to create your measure table. Then how do we create our measure table? All we just need to do is under home, there is a function for enter data. You know, you can enter data in Power BI too as well. So, but it's not always recommended. So, yeah, there's a notification for us on the group chat. Please, let's try and respond. Thank you. So just click on the enter data. Just click on the enter data. It's going to create a blank table for us when we click on it. So I'm going to rename this table as my calculated measure. So I can write it in full, or I write CALCMEAS, right? So I'm just going to load it. I'm going to click on next. So it said, are you just create the table? Just create it. You're going to ask enter data. It's going to ask you to enter data, right? But just ignore it and create your table. So just create the table. So once you create the table, it takes you back to this is one of the new updates that Power BI did anyways. It takes you back to Power Query Editor. So but just close it. Just do close and apply. Just do close and apply. Now we are going to create our first measure. We want to write our first DAX. Remember, I told us that you can either write DAX as a calculated measure or a calculated column, right? So I'm going to create a calculated measure now. And I want to do a count of our patients, right? So the new measure, so how do I do that? You right click on the new table we created, that calculated measure table. You right click on it and you click on new measure. Once you click on new measure, there's a new, so it's going to give you, there's a box that would open at the top of your canvas here. You'll see this one highlighted in green. As you can see, this one highlighted in green where my mouse is. So you create your own your measure name. So the first measure we want to write is the total number of our patients, the total number of patients. How do we do this? We just write total patients. Remember, we are working with a health data, right? Of a facility, of health facility, Ryan Clinic. So total patients is going to be, so we want to use count. Count is our function that we'll use. So we'll do count. You open your bracket. Now Power BI would also pop up like a suggestion of any function that you want to use. You may want to use, right? So if I write count, I'll see the different types of counts that I have. I have count A, count AX, count blanks, count rows. That count blank, we usually use it for QA, quality assurance, right? To know the number of blank rows you have. Count X, the distinct count, distinct count, no blank. So because of our time, I'm going to use count. So we're going, so once you open your bracket, either you select that count or you open your bracket. So once you open bracket, it's going to list all of the columns you have in your table, all of the columns you have in the table that you put into your Power BI report. So we'll open the bracket and we'll use patient ID. So let's use patient ID, count patient ID. Then you close the bracket again and click enter. Either you click enter or you click this green mark here. So it means you commit. So once you've done that, you can leave it. Then you'll see under the calculated measures table, you'll see that something is different. So let me drop down the healthcare data set. Let me drop it down. You'll see the difference that every other one here doesn't have something like a calculator in front of it. So anytime you see something like this calculator, it means that that element itself is a calculated measure, right? Now, because we don't need this blank column, we have to delete it. So once I delete it, it makes my, so I'm going to select how do I do this? There's 3 ellipses towards the end in front of that column 1. I'll click on it, then I'll see the different drop down here, delete from model. So once I select delete from model, it's going to convert this my calculator, this my table, my calculated measure table to a proper measure table. So that's how you create a measure table in Power BI, right? So now, once I click on, let me close this. Once I click on this box in front of my total patients, it's going to show me the total number of patients that we have, right, using count, right? So then we're not going to, so there's another thing we need to do. There's another thing we need to do. We need to, at this point, okay, so let me quickly show you the views that I mentioned in when we're looking at the slide, right? There are different views. We have the report view. This is the report view. The report view is where you put your visuals. The table view is where you see your data set. So once I click on my healthcare data set, I'm going to see it now. It's going to show you as as Excel. So at this point, we can also do some fixes around here. Remember our what was it called? What was that table? Yeah, our billing amount is still not clean. I told us that once we get to this point, we are going to clean it. So how do we clean? How do we clean that? Before that, yeah, how do we clean that? We just come to, you select this, you select the column. You select the column. Where's it? Yeah, billing amount. You come to billing amount. Then once you click on the billing amount column, right, under your data pane, you see the table tool and the column tool showing at the ribbon, showing as a tab in the ribbon. So once you see that, you have the option to change. So at this point, you can change it to currency. So we are going to change it from general to currency because billing amount is in currency, right? So once we select it, now let's go and see what changes. We'll see the change now once we view it on the table view. Yeah, you can see. So it has added dollar, has added the dollar sign to it. Now it's still carrying about it's still carrying different, about six decimal. It's still in like about 6 decimal places. So we'll come back here, we'll come back to home, we'll select the column again. You can select it from here too, from the table view, right? You can select it from the table view. And there's this box here that shows auto. Just put it, just place it on 2 decimal place. Just put 2 there and you hit your enter. Then we have our billing format. We have our billing amount in the right format, which we want it to be, right? Yeah, we've created the first measure. Then let's create another measure. Let's create another measure. Now, I want to know the Now, before you create your measure, you need to ask some of the questions. I told you before we visualize, we have to ask ourselves some questions. Now, these are some of the questions we want to answer this evening. What's the total number of patients we have on admission at Ryan Clinic? We want to see the total number of patients we have in Ryan Clinic per time. Sorry. Do you have a question? Someone open their mic. I'm trying to see who. Okay, so let me just mute. Okay, great. So yeah, we want to know the total number of patients that were on admission at Ryan Clinic. We want to also know the total number of patients per the date of admission, right? And we might want to see the average cost of treatment. So those are the key things people want to see. Your stakeholders will want to see the total cost of treatment and maybe average stay. We may not be able to do this because of our time. We're past our time, and I don't want to take it into our time. But I'm going to create those measures for us. Then we can follow through. The video afterwards. So the next one is we want to create the measure for average treatment cost. So for us to do that, we have to find the average of billing amount. The billing amount is the treatment cost, right? That's the column we can actually use. So we'll create a new measure, right click on the table. So for you to create a new measure, you right click on the table, right? So you have to be careful so you don't create it in the data sets table, right? So you right click on the calculated measure, then you click on new measure, and we'll come to the top here, and we'll create average treatment cost. So this is equal to, for us to get average treatment cost, we have to find the average. So we also have the average function. We also have the average function in Power BI. So you type average, you can tab it, then billing amounts, you select the column which is billing amount, you close your bracket, you press your enter key, or you click on this green button. So if I tap on that as well, it's going to create another visual for me in what's it called? A big chart. It's going to create a card for me. It's going to create a card for me. I can decide to choose any visual, right? I can decide to change it to any visual. I can say total number of patients by category. We'll still get back to that. So let's finish creating our measures. Let's create about 2 more measures or 3. Let's create about 3 or 2 more measures. So now we want to know the total cost. What is the total treatment cost? Let's create total treatment cost. Total treatment cost. So that will be what? For us to do total treatment cost, we have to use sum, right? Sum is total. Then billing amount, we have this, we'll find the sum of the billing amount. We'll close our bracket, and hit enter. Then if we want to find the average stay, so we need to create for us to get average stay, we need to create a new column for us to be able to determine the number of the number of days that the patient actually stayed. And how do we do that? How do we do that? We can come here. We can either create it in Power Query, or we create it on this Power BI interface itself. All we just needed to do is right click on the table we want to create, then we select new column. We select new column. So duration. So we just say duration of stay, and that would be the discharge date. So we have to subtract how do we calculate that? Discharge date, the day the patient was discharged. We'll subtract the date of admission from the date of discharge, right? So discharge discharge date minus date of admission. The date of admission. So Power BI will always pop this up for you, right? So let's click on this. I hope it does. Okay, it created it for us anyways. Yeah. So if we put this on a table now, okay, so if we look at this, if we view it on our table view, you'll see, okay, so it's returning it as, so it's better we create it. So let me just delete this. Let's go and create on, let me go and create it on, so there, we can actually convert it to numbers anyways, but it's easier on Power Query. So let's go and create it on Power Query, transform data, you come to ensure you are on the healthcare dataset table. Then we'll create a new column. How do we do that? You come to add column, So you have to select the columns you want to subtract. So we select, so you, where's the discharge date? Discharge date, where are you? Okay, discharge date, you select it and you press down, you press down your column, what's it called? Your control key, you press it down, discharge date, then you scroll towards the admission date of admission as well. You select it. Then from there, you'll be able to create your subtraction, your new column. So we want to subtract date of admission from the dates of discharge, right? So under add column, there is a date, something like a calendar, right? Calendar icon. You see date under it. There's a drop down under it. You select drop down. Okay, because I didn't select it, that's why you see this subtract is grayed out, right? So let me do that again. Let me do that again. Discharge date is highlighted. I press down my control key. Then date of admission, right? Both of them are selected. So let me click on this. Now you can see that our subtract days is now showing. All other options were grayed out. So I'm going to select subtract days. Now you can see that it has shown us the number of days that the patient stayed, right? So I'm going to rename this subtraction as duration of stay. Then now that I'm done with that, let me close and apply. I come to home, tab, and close and apply. Okay, great. So I have my duration of stay. So remember, we wanted to create a measure that shows us, the average stay of each patient, right? So I'm going to right click on this, create new measure. Then I type in my measure name, average stay equal to average of duration of stay. Then I close the bracket, then I click on it, right? Good. So I've created four now. I've created four. So let me just stop at this point. Then the other ones you can do it yourself. I'm going to share a guide. On how you do that. So with this, I can create my dashboard very quickly. We'll do that in the next 15 minutes. So we'll close by 6:30 West African time. Yeah, so we're going to create this. So we already have the total number of patients. Now, our total number of patients is showing as K. Usually, when you are dealing with humans, please don't refer them in numbers as K. So it's better you show the true value behind that K, behind that thousand, even if it's, except if it's in like millions, then you can say, okay, maybe 1 point something million, but if it's within thousand, so it's better you show the numbers. How do you do this? You basically format, right? You basically format. So you come here, you select the chart, then so by the right, you see the format option. That's the third icon by your right. Once you select format, you come to call out values. You see call out values option. display option, you select none. So it's going to show the true numbers here, right? It's going to show the true numbers. So because we want it to be separated by comma, select your total patients. Once you select your total patients, check your ribbon. You see a comma there, just select the comma. It's going to add a comma to it, right? So now we want to build our dashboard, a very quick and dirty dashboard. Now, for you to build your dashboard, all dashboard must always have title. Your dashboard must always have a title. It must contain a slicer or filter. It must then your chart, each of your charts must be labeled, must be properly labeled. Like the title must be labeled, the values too must be labeled. So now, how do we create a title? Just come to your visual. Either you select it from this top, or you select your visual from this end. So it's already here. Now there's a text visual. That's what we're going to use to put in our name. Text. Where are you? Okay. Okay, so let me just pick from here. Okay, yeah, there's a text box. There's a text box here under home. Under home, you include text box. Once you select the text box, it's going to pop up for you. Then you type. So let's say Ryan clinic. So the font will be a little smaller. So you highlight it, Control A. Inside the chart, ensure you select the text box chart, Control A. Then you can change the font size at this point. Let's say 40. Yeah, 40 is fine. We can make it a little bolder. Highlight and bold. Okay. So you can change the color as well. If you want to use blue, you can decide to use blue depending on what you want. You can bring in icons as well. You can always bring in icon. But for you to bring in icon, you come to insert, then image. Select insert here, then you bring in image, right? So now we want to remember the Z pattern. Remember the Z layout pattern, right? Our cards must always come first. Can be smaller. Our cards should always come first with the key indicators. Now we already created the key indicators, right? We created the total number of patients, the average stay, the total treatment cost, the average cost. So this will be yes, we'll share the recording, please. So this will be our So these will be our cards, right? Now, Power BI has a feature where you can put all of the cards together, right? So we are going to explore that. You can decide to put all the cards together, or you create it separately. So, but for consistency's sake, we'll put all of this together in one card. So total, you start with total number of patients, then average stay. We want to see the average stay. Let me see the average stay. Okay, so we can bring that into. You can just bring them here. We arrange them. Okay, so let me switch it to the card. Okay, so let's just select this. Let me change my card. This is my card to the multi-card. Yeah, this should be the multi-card. Then 56K, delete this. Okay, so let me start that again so that I don't lose you, right? So you can come to your build, right? Come to your build. So there is a card, there's a card visual here. The one with the thunder, the lightning sign, right? So once you select it, so you can either select your chart first before selecting your numbers, or you select your numbers while Power BI build the chart for you. Either way, right? But if you don't know the right chart to use, just first select the data set. Power BI will suggest one for you, right? So now we want to build our cards first. Then we choose the different data sets. So you can add your values here. The values, once you click on value, you can drag the data set. You can drag the data set here, right? You can actually drag the data set. So we start the number of patients, and we can click the box in front of them. Total number of patients, the total treatment cost, or we can even start with average stay. We want to know the average number of days they stay, right? At least each patient stayed about 16 days. So this we want to round this up to one whole number, to whole number. So we're going to put this in 0. So averagely, each patient stays about 16 days, right? Average number of days 16. Then treatment cost. So this is what it costs. The total treatment looks like, then average treatment cost, right? So we can drag this from front to the end. We can still beautify all of these, right? Can still beautify all of these. We come to format, style, size and style. From these styles and style, you can start to give it a visual border. By default, it usually comes with a background, right? It usually comes with a background. So you can give it a border. There are still a lot of things we can do around this, right? So let's look at the cards. You can arrange it vertically or horizontally, right? Depending. You can do a vertical arrangement depending on how you want to tweak it. So this icon here is where you can format, just basically move things around. So today is just basic, just to see how you can move things around, right? So maybe one of the next webinars or during our data analytics bootcamp, you can join us. We're starting June 6th. That's next week Saturday, June 6th, or next 2 Saturdays rather. June 6th is next 2 Saturdays. So you can join us. Yeah. So we have built our card. Now we want to build the other charts. Remember the Z patterns, right? So the key ones can come. So we want to see the total number of our patients by, let's say, the categories we can look at. Let me look at my data set. What are the categories we can group our patients? So we can group our patients by admission type, right? We can group our patients by admission type. So we can say total number of patients disaggregated by, so with this, what chart are we going to use? Can someone unmute and tell us? Admission type is a category. So what kind of data, what kind of chart can we use? Let me see if you are following. A column chart, great. So we can use a column chart or we use a bar chart. Either we use a bar chart or column chart. So you have to carefully choose. There's a stack bar chart and there is a stack column chart. Do you get? So I'm going to, and you can select a clustered bar chart. So you select a clustered column chart. So this shows the total number of patients. Then we disaggregate by admission type. We want to disaggregate by admission type. So yeah, so once we select admission type, we'll see the different numbers. So because this is quite big, let me reduce it a bit so it can fit into the box. So I'm using a small screen, so that's why you are seeing this way. We can still push this up a little. Right? Also, we can format to bring out. We can format this to show a border. So let's on our border. And yes, let me quickly mention that Power BI also have different templates. In case you don't know how to choose color, if you have issues with choosing color, you can always come to view and choose any themes you want. You can choose a dark theme or a light theme in case you have issues with selecting colors, right? Power BI will always guide you through. So for me, let me choose temperature. I think I quite love this temperature and which other one here? So you can choose any color that suits you, right? Then we can also see the total number of patients by sex, right? So let's come back to our data, select total patients, then we can group it by gender, right? So what's best for this? Who can suggest to me too? What's best for this gender? What can we use?
Let's use
So we either use,
chart.
is it? Yeah, you either use a pie chart or a column chart. Thank you. I can see a pop-up on the chat box too. Yeah, so you can select a pie chart. So this is total number of patients by gender. So another beauty of using Power BI is that even if you don't label your charts, it's going to automatically label them for you. Yeah, that's one beauty. That's one of the good things of using Power BI, right? So we're going to format these as well to bring in our visual border, right? It's a visual border. Then what other thing can we still bring in? Let me see. Yeah, we can visualize patient by blood type as well. Can say total patients by their blood type. We may our stakeholder may be interested in visualizing by blood type, right? Total patients by blood type. Let me select this. Okay, so this looks a bit crowded, but it's not bad. But it's not bad. By blood type, yeah, we can also visualize by patient by we can also visualize patient by medical conditions. And so before you build any dashboard, right, it's important you understand who your final consumers are. So it usually helps you in it helps you in chart selection, right? It helps you in chart selection or the kind of things you want to visualize, right? Our stakeholders may be interested in what is our inflow like for the past, by period. You might want to visualize total patient by period, right? So just select your patient, then maybe date of admission. You can see. So over the years, this is what the admission looks like, right? So we can bring this somewhere here, or in short, you can even start and condition can come here, patient condition can come here, right? Patient condition can come here. So basically, you can just move things around following the Z layouts. The Z layouts. Yeah. So visual border. Then what else? Somebody suggested one on the group chat. Let me see the charts. Let me see on the chat box rather. Let me see the charts. Total patients by medicine use, yeah, by medical condition. Okay, have we visualized medical condition? No. Let's look at medical condition first. We can, in short, we can even look at average stay. We can look at average stay per period. You can look at average stay per period. It doesn't have to be patient, right? But usually, this is what I always recommend. You start with demography, especially when you are working with health. So there's something we call person, place, and time. The same thing applies in even finance, person, place, and time, right? If you want to visualize your dashboard, person, place, and time. You talk about the persons, the total number of customers we have, right? You can talk about the total number of customers. Then the place, you can talk of total number of patients or total number of customers by their region. So please, when you are visualizing, be careful because of what's it called? Data security, right? You don't put people's address on the dashboard, please. Anything you want to do at all, never put people's address on the dashboard. The lowest you may go will be, let's say, region, state, and maybe city. But please don't point them to their names for security's sake, right? So that you avoid litigation, right? Yeah, so basically, this is how you can just move things around. So I'm just trying to manage our time. We're past our time. Remember, you must always have a slicer. The slicer is what then some of these things may even be in your slicers, right? Some of these things may be in your slicers, right? So we can medical condition can be in a slicer. In short, even blood group can be in a slicer. We can even leave it that way. So what goes into the slicer is the categories. We can so hospital can be our slicer. So once you select hospital, you change the chart, change the chart to slicer. You can, you can choose any slicer. There are different forms of slicer. Before, we're always restricted to this particular one, but now you can have more than one. You can even have a button slicers now, right? So, but I'm going to stay with the old slicer. You can, so for this, we can't just leave this slicer like this because our slicer must, remember what we said, at the top right corner, that's what our slicer should be. So we need to format this slicer to be like a drop down, yeah. So just come to slicer setting, the style, our style should be drop down, right? So you push this, you adjust it slightly up, you adjust it up a bit, you reduce it so that it doesn't, take the whole part of your screen. Our dashboard is gradually coming up. So from here, once you select one hospital, you see it's going to filter. So that's one of the beauty of Power BI. So at a glance, once your users select this, they see what happens at different facilities, at different hospital. You may decide to bring in, using the concept of person, place, time, right? What can we bring? Let's bring in place. Let's bring maybe like city. Let's bring like city or region. Do we have region? Okay, we don't have that, but we can bring in insurance provider. Can bring in insurance provider, then click like a drop down. Click like a drop down. Yeah, so we format it again. Select drop down. So we reduce this to match what we have at the top here. Right. So ensure your visuals have borders so that they don't overlap. Ensure they have borders. So where do you put the borders? You just select the formatting. You can also select, if you don't, in case you don't see the format icon by the right of your screen, once you select the chart, right? Once you select the chart, just look at your ribbon. You see formats there. Once you select formats, you can fix any fixables from there, right? So let's come here, format. We want to format this. Let me bring it the visual border and okay, yeah. So like I said, this is a very basic one, right? Time is not on our side, right? So you can see our dashboard is coming up gradually. Yeah. But I'm just going to stop here because of our time. We don't want to eat so much into people's time because this is weekend. We want people to prepare. So we'll share the data set alongside. You can also prepare with this. Okay, is there any site you can get more data to work with? Yes, Kaggle is one of the websites you can short. This data set was downloaded from Kaggle, Kaggle. I'm going to type it here. If you put it on Google, you'll see. So Kaggle, you register with them, you register an account, you download your data set. From there, you can also see data dictionary. There are different sites that you can get data from. Bureau of Statistics to MBS website, you can also get data set from MBS, right? So generally, I think we'd like to draw the curtain at this point, right? So don't take too much of your time, and we really appreciate you for joining our webinar series. Once again, please, would like to tell you about our data analytics bootcamp that is coming up, that is starting in June. June is the first Friday of June, first Saturday of June. So our classes will be weekends. Our classes will be weekends so that it allows people to, who work 9 to 5 or who are usually engaged during the week to have opportunities to attend. So we Also have evening classes for those that are comfortable with that. So our June cohort is actually starting. We can always fix the time to to fit into your schedule. So you can register on our website. You can go to our website to register, or you click on this link. You visit this link showing on the screen, tr.ee/dabc, tr.ee/dabc. Then that's where you can register from. So it only costs 140,000 naira for 10 weeks. It costs 140,000 for 10 weeks, but we are giving a discount of 50%. Once you use this code on your screen, we are giving a discount of 50%. And there are some benefits attached to this.